You're watching Good Evening San Diego.
Well, Veterans Day is this Saturday, a day to celebrate those who used to wear a uniform. Memorial Day is for those who we lost in uniform. And of course, Armed Forces Day is for those still in uniform. And according to the most recent data, the number of suicides among active duty military increased 25% in the first 3 months of 2023. So joining us now to talk a little bit more about mental health within the military and some ways we can honor our veterans is national security expert and a veteran himself, Major Glenn Ignacio. Major, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to see you again. Thank you.
Why don't we talk a little bit about how we can celebrate veterans on Saturday and every day?
Yeah, it's a great day, and it's really appreciative since our veteran community is so large, especially in the San Diego area with the large installations you have. You know, one of the interesting parts is about 50% of veterans don't know how to respond when people say, thank you for your service. You know, it's just an uncomfortable thing because we volunteered, where a lot of times just flying a flag or being thankful for the sacrifices others have made, or just saying, hey, thank you for your sacrifice of you and your family is a nice thing to receive. So that's usually a nice way to celebrate when you see a veteran.
That's terrific. Let's talk, unfortunately, about mental health issues and suicide among those in military and maybe veterans as well. What are some of the numbers, and what do you think is the issue with that?
Yeah, well, first of all, for the numbers, you normally hear 22 a day. Now, the interesting part is that's actually just a starting figure because both Texas and California, the largest states that have a huge population of veterans, don't actually report that to the VA. So it's actually larger than that. So that's one of the tough things. And it's very difficult because you leave, you know, there's a lot of loss the day you leave the military, a lot of friends, a job, everything that you used to in that camaraderie, and to be able to make that change. And so it's really important to focus on the veteran and mental health, not to include everything that has happened, such as the withdrawal of Afghanistan. But ironically, is the biggest effort of getting folks and good friends out of Afghanistan were the veteran community. When I was in Ukraine, the largest percentage of those volunteers were the veterans, and it continues to this day. So it's a great community in that area, and following through with events like that is always important for the mental health.
Yeah, I mean, you make me think about it. You're in the military, you've got all those friends, everything's pretty much structured. You know when you're eating at each time, you know when you're going to bed, when you're waking up, everything's kind of pretty much set for you. And then all of a sudden you go into the civilian world, and then there you are kind of left to your own devices. Do you think there might need to be some kind of a transitioning program or something to kind of help somebody transition from something more rigid into something more flexible?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of programs, especially in the last 5+ years, actually maybe even 10 years now, since we've had the global war on terrorism and starting to wind down. There was such an effort on because of this transition being difficult for people, and that was really one of the biggest impacts mentally for folks, is Wounded Warrior Foundation and many others, the VA, and there's a lot of transition assistance programs out there. All you have to do is look it up. I could list hundreds and hundreds, but there's that many out there to assist in that transition from the Marines or the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, or the Space Force these days. There's always programs out there, and you definitely want to get into it. I did with the Wounded Warrior program, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. Unfortunately, I know when people get depressed, right, you just want to stay inside. You want to stay in bed. You don't even want to get out of the house. And yet maybe that's the best thing, to get out, get into some of these programs and get some camaraderie. At least that's the nice thing about folks who have been in the military, veterans. You've got so much in common with somebody else. I would think it would almost be like a magical kind of moment when one veteran meets another veteran.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of funny. It's almost like you can sense that somebody's been in service based on, you know, personality, maybe even demeanor. But you're absolutely really, you know, you're right, is getting out and not holding up inside. That's the difficult part. And like I said, as many of these programs that are out there, they've really put together, you know, bike rides, long distance bike rides, hikes, anything to get individuals out. And some of these programs, they're all veterans. So you're from and with individuals that sort of basically have done the walk with you. And that's the biggest thing is, you know, somebody that understands exactly where you've been versus you having to explain to others, and even sometimes even difficult to talk about things. So that's the big thing, is to get out and not be holed up silent and solo by yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a great discussion, Major Glenn Ignacio. Happy Veterans Day to you and all the veterans out there. We appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you. And appreciate everybody and all the veterans in San Diego.
We'll see you soon.